Growing up, how many of you wanted to be Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, risking life and limb to protect people and save the ones we love? Those examples you remember influence culture. But unfortunately, we're not aliens or a genius who inherits billions or someone who gets bit by a radioactive spider. But the characteristics to emulate are still there, even if we couldn't practice their talents. Well, not to spook you, but more frequently every year, heroes we're supposed to emulate in movies and TV have abilities people can actually practice and attempt to recreate. I'm talking about Hollywood's romanticism of Wiccan and the dark arts and the effects it can have on this new generation. I'm Ben Davies. This is Pure Hollywood. So I know a lot of people will not like this video, but please just hear me out and see if we can find some common ground here. This was actually brought to my attention after a recent horrifying case in Florida of two middle school girls, 11 and 12 years old, who allegedly had plans to stab, kill, eat the flesh, and drink the blood of other students, and then leave their body parts outside. Fortunately, the police were able to put a stop to this. When asked, the girls said they were following Satan. Now, where would they get ideas to do these crazy things? Now, I will say, as a Christian in Hollywood, I look at this normalization of witchcraft and the dark arts very differently from countless shows on TV and blockbusters like Harry Potter. But Ben, this is just good versus evil. Yeah, Superman versus Darkseid is good versus evil as well, but you can't dabble in the arts of being Superman. But man, Lord of the Rings has a wizard. Yeah, and Narnia has magic too, but is it set in practice or in imagination? If you watch Lord of the Rings or Narnia, how do you recreate those? How do you replicate those? It talks about magic as a fantasy because that was never the point or the practice. Harry Potter, Charmed, or Buffy the Vampire Slayer talk specifically about astrology, clairvoyance, numerology, and actually point to practice. And anyone who is interested can go to a library and look up the practice of all of these things. But for my atheist and non-Christian brothers and sisters, here's why you should care. And don't worry, I'm not going to talk about the dangers of this kind of spiritual activity and why we should definitely find some common ground here. I'm talking about the culture this could breed. I'm not merely talking about these crazed outliers like these middle school girls who are going to sacrifice their classmates. I'm talking about when 0.5% of the population, 1 million people in the United States, grows from that number to 1 or even 5%. Have you read the sacraments and the commandments of the Church of Satan? I have. Do you want to live in that world? What happens when a community grows to live by that? In the West, we often forget that whether you follow Judeo-Christian values or not, we stand on the shoulder of giants, on the values gifted by God and embodied in Jesus Christ, and men and women who did their best to live by that and set up systems to help us to do that. Why are the common laws of England common for everyone? Why are there inalienable rights in America? It says right there they were endowed by your creator with a capital C, by God. Now, why is that important even if you don't believe? Because if your rights are given by God, even if you don't believe, man cannot take them away. But enlightenment. Well, what happens when someone who is more enlightened than you says, oh, that speech is hateful? You're not allowed to say that anymore. Instead of in the beginning was the Word and the Word was God, thus emphasizing the freedom to speak and find Him. This is why people like Jordan Peterson, who kind of claims Christianity, and Douglas Murray or Stephen Molyneux or whatever, who are both atheists, by the way, say the same thing about the value of Christianity in the West. This is why someone growing up with different religions or not at all in the same area in the United States can grow up with the same values. Because the underlying culture lived out come from the same place. Not the dark arts of Satan worship. Now, don't worry, I'm not saying everyone should go throw out their Harry Potter books or this is going to happen to everyone. No. Nothing like that. I'm just saying we should pump the brakes on some things that are growing at this rate and that are in direct opposition to the very foundations of Western culture itself. Now, I know there's not going to be a political party running on the basis of Wiccan or witchcraft or whatever, even though there's a coven of witches in every major city and there's over 1 million people practicing right now. But it does concern me the normalizing and fetishism almost of witchcraft and the dark arts is disturbing how much it's grown in entertainment in the past 30 years. And I think it should stay where it lives, in the dark and not on children's TV shows. For them to see their heroes doing this and attempt to practice and emulate what they are doing. Like the growing number of people in the United States practicing this and the poor little girls in Florida. I'm Ben Davies. This is Pure Hollywood. Did you enjoy that video? Of course you enjoyed that video. So now you need to become a premium member to the Rebel. That way you have first access to Pure Hollywood and the entire Rebel lineup.